Our planet is full of extraordinary places that seem to have come straight out of a novel. Among them all, there are few places like this island, where for years the most dangerous motorcycle race on the planet has been held, and which preserves one of the last races with Viking descent of humanity, which still maintains ancient traditions today. In this new video from Uncensored World, we are going to discover the Isle of Man, a fascinating corner full of surprising realities, due to being one of the least known and explored places in the world. An island as beautiful as its Viking past, with traditions such as temporary marriage, which allowed couples to commit themselves for a year and a day, and then to marry or separate without problems, which has kept enigmatic rituals alive, in which priestesses could instruct young women in intimate relationships, invoking the gods of fertility, which included toasting with mead and sensual dances. A remote region under the protection of the United Kingdom, but with total autonomy, with unique curiosities, such as the most dangerous and extreme motorcycle race in the world, until recently not allowed for women. Home to unique cats due to a genetic mutation that makes them born without tails, or possessing a powerful population with Viking origins, but so superstitious that they still believe in the existence of a ghost dog. An island that has had to resurrect its own Viking language after the death of its last native inhabitant a few years ago, or where amorous rituals still seem to be kept alive today, where women sleep with ivy branches under their pillows, consult with the spirits, or look for shapes in the ground with the intention of knowing who their future husband will be. Pay attention and don't miss this video. You're about to travel with us to what is probably one of the most extraordinary and unknown places on the planet. Let's get started. On a remote island in the raging waters of the Irish Sea are hidden ancient secrets and mysteries linked to the Vikings, one of the most influential and powerful cultures in history. This place, known as the Isle of Man, is home to realities deeply connected to that legendary past, making it one of the most enigmatic and unexplored corners of the planet. The Isle of Man is known worldwide for being the setting for the most dangerous motorcycle race in the world, known as the Tourist Trophy, or TT. This race has seen a unique collection of tragedies and feats in its short history, being directly responsible for hundreds of deaths since its inception, a fact as heartbreaking as it is revealing of the dangers that the riders face every year. Later in this video, we will discover the details and reasons that make this challenging race unique. But before that, we will begin by discovering more about its legendary past. The Isle of Man is located in the Irish Sea between Great Britain and Ireland, and is known for its isolation and autonomy, although it is under the protection of the United Kingdom. One of the realities that makes it special is its self-governing status, which means that, although it is part of the United Kingdom, it has its own political and administrative system, without depending on London for most of its decisions. This gives the island a unique character, with a mixture of British influence and its own identity, which has been maintained throughout the centuries. The history of this island goes back to Viking times, when the ancient Nordic peoples arrived on these shores, leaving a mark that is still visible today in the culture, population, language, and traditions. Its remote access and strategic location made the island a key point on trade and military routes during the Middle Ages, and that Viking influence is still an important part of the island's cultural identity. A clear example of how the Viking legacy is still alive on the Isle of Man is its language, Manx. Although few people know that this language was on the verge of extinction, as its last native speaker died in 1974, and after that the island was almost left without its ancient language. But in recent years, the Manx language has been experiencing a revival, driven by various initiatives to preserve it and revive it among the younger generations. Local authorities have implemented educational programs in schools, and its teaching has been promoted through the media, including television and radio channels that broadcast in Manx. In addition, some public officials on the island are required to know and use the language, which reinforces its cultural importance. This renaissance not only reflects the island's strong connection to its Norse past, but has also become a symbol of the cultural resilience of its inhabitants, who strive to keep alive a linguistic tradition unique in the world. The origin of the island's name also has its roots in the Viking era. Although many people believe that Man refers to the Island of Men, this has never been the case. The name comes from the Norse word mana, which means the place of the people, reflecting the island's connection to the first Viking settlers. It is a small example of how this ancient culture left its mark not only on history, but also on the name of the island. In addition to their historical legacy, the inhabitants of the Isle of Man, both men and women, are known for their unique beauty. This is largely due to their isolation and Viking heritage, as the physical characteristics of the islanders reflect the mixture of Nordic races with those of other peoples who have inhabited the island over the centuries. This beauty, forged by centuries of isolation and a mixture of cultures, is a feature that distinguishes the inhabitants of the Isle of Man from those of other regions of the United Kingdom. But it is not only the humans of the Isle of Man who are special, its animals are also unique in the world. One of the most surprising examples of this reality is the Manx cat breed. These felines, which are born tailless due to a genetic mutation, are a symbol of the island. The lack of a tail gives them a distinctive appearance and has made the breed famous all over the world. Manx cats are an integral part of the island's folklore and have become an emblematic species of its biodiversity. As you can see, the Isle of Man is a place where traditions and history are intertwined in a fascinating way. But what is most intriguing is how some of these customs have endured to this day, especially in the most remote corners of the island. In remote villages where time seems to have stood still, it is possible that ancestral rituals and traditions are still being practiced, passed down from generation to generation, keeping alive the traces of a mysterious past. One of these intriguing customs that reflects the Viking influence on the island is the ancient fertility rite. The Vikings left their mark on the local culture, not only through their legends, but also through rituals, some related to love and fertility, in which homage was paid to Nordic gods, such as Freya and Freyr. These rituals, which included toasting with mead and sensual dances, were celebrations full of meaning, although the exact details remain a mystery. Be that as it may, this connection with ancient gods lives on in some form on the island, and it is not difficult to imagine that, in some isolated corners, they may still be practiced in secret. One of the most outstanding dances on the island, the Tailless, is one of the oldest and dates back to pre-Christian times. This dance, which in some cases is performed during local festivities, has an ancestral air that reflects the island's connection to its Celtic and Nordic roots. The Tailless symbolizes the union of the participants with the earth, the elements, and the natural forces. These dances, although in their modern form are more festive than religious, retain a mysterious air that connects the islanders with their ancient ancestors. Another fascinating custom that survives in the memory of the island is the hand fasting, or trial marriage, a tradition that comes from Celtic and Nordic cultures. For centuries, couples on the Isle of Man were joined together temporarily, committing themselves for a year and a day. After that time, they could decide to marry officially or to separate without any legal consequences. This practice reflects a more flexible view of relationships, centered on freedom and mutual respect, something that suited the rural communities of this remote island particularly well. Today, it is possible that in some remote areas of this island, there are still echoes of this ancient tradition. In the Celtic tradition, women played a fundamental role, not only as spiritual figures, but also as guardians of knowledge about herbs, healing, and intimate life. It is believed that some of these priestesses, considered witches by the societies of the time, played a crucial role in the instruction of fertility rituals and other spiritual acts. One of the oldest and most fascinating festivities on the Isle of Man is Hop to Na, celebrated on October 31st, which precedes Halloween and keeps the Celtic tradition alive. On this magical night, young women on the island performed divination rituals to find out the future of their relationships. One of the best-known practices was to peel an apple without breaking the skin and throw it over your shoulder. It was believed that the shape the skin took when it hit the ground revealed the initial of the future husband. It is said that even today many women continue to believe in this ritual, hoping to find some clue that might help them in love. It was also common to sleep with sprigs of ivy under the pillow in order to dream about the person who would be your life partner. Today, these love rituals have been replaced by more gentle celebrations, but the connection with ancient beliefs is still present, and in remote parts of the island, some may still keep these secrets and traditions private. Perhaps among the island's remote mountains and coasts, some of the young women still practice divination rituals, seeking signs about their future love lives. In a way, the Viking and Celtic past is still alive in the hearts of the islanders, who continue to celebrate and preserve these traditions with an almost mystical devotion. These realities are deeply connected to the activity that has given the Isle of Man its worldwide fame, because in a metaphor similar to the exploits of the powerful Viking sailors, it is on this island that the most dangerous motorbike race on the planet is held every year, the Isle of Man TT Tourist Trophy. This race, which has been held since 1908, attracts thousands of fans and competitors from all over the world and has become an iconic event of speed and bravery. Usually held in May or June, the Isle of Man Tourist Trophy takes place over a distance of more than 40 miles on the island's public roads, which are temporarily closed for the competition. With a mixture of sharp bends, narrow roads, and mountainous landscapes, this circuit challenges even the most experienced motorcyclists, who must navigate at average speeds of around 190 kilometers per hour, reaching more than 300 kilometers per hour at their highest peaks. What makes this race so dangerous is not only the high speeds, but also the wild nature of the route, which crosses extreme terrain including hundreds of meters high cliffs and steep slopes capable of sending motorcyclists flying. Motorcyclists face a number of risks, such as sudden bends, cross-traffic on some sections of the circuit, and the lack of safety barriers on many stretches. To date, it is estimated that more than 270 people have lost their lives during the Isle of Man TT, a chilling number that highlights the extreme danger of the event. At this point, we would like to ask you, would you dare to participate in the tourist trophy? Would you like to meet the Vikings of the Isle of Man? Or what has surprised you the most about this remote island? Pause the video and leave us your comment. Doing so is the best way you can help us to continue working to bring you the best content every week. So, from Uncensored World, we thank you for helping us and following us every week. Thank you. The race is famous not only for its technical and physical difficulty, but also for the tragic incidents that have occurred throughout its history. Despite efforts to improve safety, the course remains one of the most demanding in the world of motorcycling, famous for its extreme ferocity. Because of these dangers, the competition has been exclusively for men over the years. But in the year 1962, a woman named Beryl Swain defied the restrictions and became the first woman to officially participate in the Isle of Man TT. Although women already competed in other motorcycle racing categories, the world of the tourist trophy had historically been dominated by men due to the safety requirements and the high risk of the competition. Beryl Swain dared to challenge these norms, and although she did not manage to finish the race, her participation opened the way for other women to follow in her footsteps. But due to the extreme danger of the event, female competitors continued to avoid this competition for years. It was not until 1998 that a woman named Maria Costello, who had already achieved notable success in other competitions, took part in the TT again, gaining the respect of her peers and demonstrating that women could also compete at the highest level in this extremely dangerous environment. Over the years, and with the impetus of figures such as Costello, the gender restrictions at the Isle of Man TT have been relaxed. Today, women have the opportunity to compete in the same category as men, and although they are still fewer in number, they have demonstrated their skill and courage in facing one of the greatest challenges in motorcycling. This change reflects not only the evolution of the race, but also a greater acceptance and recognition of equality in extreme sports, although danger is still a constant for all participants. The history of the Isle of Man TT is, without doubt, a testament to human courage, a passion for motorcycling, and the constant quest for personal improvement. The island remains a place where speed, danger, and history intertwine, offering one of the most legendary competitions in the world. This kind of progress also reflects how the Isle of Man has been a pioneering place in many aspects related to women's rights. In fact, women in the Isle of Man have enjoyed some rights earlier than many in other parts of the world. In 1881, the Isle of Man became the first place to grant women the right to vote in parliamentary elections, although initially only landowning women were granted this right. This happened 37 years before the United Kingdom granted this right to women. This fact marks a milestone in the history of the island, showing an early recognition of the capacity of women to participate in public and political life. Over the years, the Isle of Man has continued to be a place that, at its own pace, has promoted social change. Women have been a fundamental part of the local community, not only in the political sphere, but also in cultural, social, and sporting areas. Although visibility in certain fields, such as motorcycling, has been limited until recently, support for gender equality on the island has been a constant. A reality that has been reflected since ancient times, with a legendary figure known as the Guardian Women of Man. These women played a fundamental role in the Celtic society of the island, being in charge of preserving and transmitting ancient knowledge about herbalism, natural medicine, and spiritual practices. In Celtic culture, women enjoyed a high status, not only as caregivers and spiritual guides, but also as guardians of the secrets of intimate life and human relationships. It was believed that these women possessed such a special connection with nature that it gave them the ability to heal both the body and the spirit of the people who came to them for advice. Although it was not something exclusive to the Isle of Man, it is known that in other areas of the British Isles, there were also female figures of great power and respect, such as priestesses or spiritual advisors, who taught young people about fertility rituals and intimate relationships. These rituals, which went beyond traditional medicine, also encompassed emotional and intimate aspects of people's lives, helping communities to maintain balance and harmony among their members. But these traditions, women, extreme races, or Viking influences, are not the only things that define the Isle of Man. This place, so full of history and mystery, is also home to a creature that makes it even more fascinating, a breed of cat that is unique in the world, which has become another of the island's distinctive emblems. It is the Manx, a breed that is not only known for its beauty, but also for a rather peculiar and unique characteristic. These cats have no tail. Manx cats are famous for their extremely short tails, which are often completely absent. This feature distinguishes them from all other cat breeds and is the main reason why they are recognized as a unique species. The absence of a tail is the result of a genetic mutation, which means that their caudal vertebrae do not develop properly. Although some cats of this breed may have a short tail, known as a rumpy, others are born without one. This characteristic has been passed down from generation to generation, making the Manx a living symbol of the Isle of Man. The origin of this mutation remains largely a mystery, but it is believed that it could have originated on the island centuries ago. Some even suggest that the lack of a tail may have been favored by the geographical conditions of the island and its needs, allowing these cats to better adapt to life in such an isolated environment. It is also said that the mutation could have been the result of the incessant genetic mixing between different breeds of cats that arrived on the island throughout history. The truth is that these Manx cats are not only known for their extraordinary appearance, but also for their character. They are extremely loyal and affectionate cats, which tend to form strong bonds with their owners. Their adaptability and calm nature also make them ideal companions for families on the island. Furthermore, these cats have become one of the main attractions for animal lovers visiting the island, making this peculiar breed one of the natural jewels of the remote Isle of Man. Surely the peculiarities of the Isle of Man, both past and present, have surprised you, but there is one aspect of the island that might leave you even more astonished. its fascination with the supernatural. Despite its rich history and fascinating culture, a large part of the population of the Isle of Man is extremely superstitious, and one of the most deeply rooted beliefs is the existence of a ghost dog that, according to legend, has terrorized the inhabitants of this island for centuries. This mythical being is known as the Madi Du, which in the Manx language means black dog, a creature with dark fur that is believed to haunt the ruins of Peel Castle, a medieval fortress located on the west coast of the island. The Madi Du has been part of the local tradition for generations. According to legend, this ghostly black dog appears on the darkest of nights, especially near the old castle walls, striking inexplicable terror into those who encounter it. The stories of those who claim to have seen it say that the presence of the Madi Du is accompanied by a feeling of cold and an unsettling sense of imminent danger. In ancient times, it was believed that its appearance portended tragic events or calamities, which contributed to its reputation as a terrifying and dangerous creature. In addition to the superstition of the ghost dog, there is another widespread belief that reflects the level of fear and superstition of its population. On the Isle of Man, there is a firm belief that mentioning the word rat brings bad luck. This superstition is so ingrained that instead of referring to these rodents by their usual name, the islanders have a peculiar way of calling them long-tailed fellows. The root of this superstition is not entirely clear, but it is believed to have to do with the ancient belief that rats, as carriers of disease, brought with them omens of disaster. By avoiding saying their name, the islanders try to dodge the bad omen associated with the presence of these animals and the evils that they could transmit. At this point, you are probably wondering how to plan a visit to the fascinating Isle of Man. From Uncensored World, we have compiled essential information so that you can make the most of this unique experience. If you are traveling from America, the most common option is to fly to a European city with direct connections to the island, such as London or Dublin. From there, you can take a flight to the Isle of Man airport. Entry requirements for the Isle of Man depend on the nationality of the traveler. For example, Mexican citizens visiting the island before January 8, 2025, do not need an electronic travel authorization for stays of up to 6 months. However, from that date onwards, it will be compulsory to obtain this permit. For citizens of other countries, it is advisable to check the specific regulations before planning your trip. Once on the island, there are several ways to get around. Public transport includes buses and a picturesque horse-drawn tram in towns such as Douglas, known as the Douglas Bay Horse Tramway, which offers a unique experience along the seafront of this region. It is also possible to rent a car for greater flexibility. Taxis are also available, with rates starting at approximately $5 plus $1.50 for each kilometer traveled. One of the most important dates for visitors to the island is Hop Tu Na, the Isle of Man's traditional Halloween, which is celebrated on October 31st every year. This Celtic festival includes traditional songs, turnip carving, and other cultural activities. Another important event, probably the most famous on the island, is the Isle of Man TT motorcycle race, which takes place between the end of May and the beginning of June. Spectators can enjoy these extreme races from various points along the circuit, which makes for a close and exciting experience. As for the cost of living, the island is not a particularly cheap destination. A pint of beer costs around $6. During December, hotel rooms can be found for approximately $85, this being the cheapest month. On the contrary, August is the month with the highest prices. To save money, it is advisable to plan ahead and consider alternative accommodation options, such as guest houses or vacation rentals. As you now know, one of the most peculiar curiosities of this island is the superstition related to the word rat. The inhabitants of Man avoid pronouncing this word. Instead, it is better to do as they do and use expressions such as long-tailed companions to refer to these rodents. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of the wonders and curiosities of the Isle of Man has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and the effort that making these videos requires, we would love it if you could leave us a nice like, subscribe if you are not already, and leave us a nice comment. It's the best way you can help us to continue bringing you the best content every week. If you have enjoyed this video and you are not yet a subscriber, don't wait any longer. Click the bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now to learn about one of the most enigmatic corners of the planet. Don't miss it and discover the wonders this place has to offer.